Welcome everybody to our first talk on Nature's Wellness Symphony. And you're probably wondering what that is, but you'll learn a little bit more as we go along. My name is Tammy Bruni and I'm from Lions Arise. Lions Arise is a platform that promotes kingdom identity, and part of kingdom identity is also healing. And promoting healing spirit, soul, and body, which is going to be some of what we're going to talk about today. And Lions Arise also connects people to others in the ministry doing kingdom work, counselors, and even just businesses, and just people doing kingdom work is actually the bottom line. And so you'll find resources there and information that you need to also facilitate the journey. I also have Women of Inspiration, of which our co-host today, Denise Bierman, is also part of. And Women of Inspiration just is what it is. It inspires women, encourages women, and brings support to women, as well as information and resources. And that platform was also birthed just from the work I do, seeing that women need a lot of support in their lives and in their roles as well, although this talk is for men and women today, but I'm just giving a shout out to the women. And so I'm going to give over to Denise, who is from Fontes Wellness, and she's going to share a little bit about herself and then kick us off. Right, Denise?
Yes. Good morning, ladies. It's an honor to talk to you again. And Tammy, thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this series that we are going to just walk out as the Lord shows us. So I'm Denise Bierman. I am the founder of Fontes Organic Skin Food and Sozo Natural, and I'm also a certified essential oils coach. And that certification is underwritten by the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. So Fontes Wellness was basically birthed out of those two brands, but also the need to express more and just go a little bit wider into wellness and why that is important, and then just pulling on these two brands as to how they support a wellness protocol using natural ingredients and natural products that the Lord provided.
Amen. And so we're going to start off our series, and there are going to be 12 talks, is right, Denise? Yes. And our first one is going to be on the respiratory system. Yes. So maybe you can start with that, and I'll jump in when I need to.
Okay, thank you. So just a disclaimer on the front, we are not here to diagnose or treat or cure diseases. It's just a conversation to share information and knowledge and things that we've seen, and it is everybody's own responsibility to check up on what we've said, see if it works, and if you need to speak to a medical practitioner, you need to do that. So I just want to put it out there so that we can just have a comfortable conversation about all things natural. So if we look at the respiratory system, I mean, the main function of it is oxygen. So you breathe in gas, the gas goes into your lungs, and the oxygen is then sent through to your blood cells. It takes it through the whole body, and then it brings the carbon dioxide back to your lungs and you breathe it out. So that's the gist of what the respiratory system does. But that, I think, is I think everything is very important, but we need oxygen. Without oxygen, we die. Mm-hmm. And we tend to leave things until we feel symptoms, but I think that is too late. And wellness is about building things into your protocol, your daily life, without getting overwhelmed. We do what we can, when we can, and how, and we try to build things in that are sustainable. So you can support your immune system on a daily basis with essential oils. They are good for you. You can bring in superfoods or You can diffuse essential oils or change your cleaning products. The way you breathe, even small things, your skincare, small little things changes your body, has a great effect on your body. But when we focus on that and we look at plants, I mean, if you think of plants outside, they purify the air, they clean water, they clean the soil. So you want to bring that environment into your house, that technology you want to bring into your house. And we get sick because of toxins or too much free radicals or oxidizing agents that affects our body, which means that we have more toxins on the micro level of our cells and around our cells, and that causes a dis-ease. That is kind of the main reasons. Now, if you look at toxins, there are many. We breathe it in, polluted air, viruses. I heard Green Smoothie Girl, she has a testimony of her own, talk about there's about 150 viruses, flu viruses out there. I'm sure there's more now, but there's a vast array of viruses. They are biofilms. So biofilms are infectious conditions that you have, and then it creates a slime environment around them. They are very intelligent. They talk to each other. They exchange information. They enhance each other. And that's something that sits behind sinusitis. And they are hard to address because antibiotics, even herbs at times, don't break them up. And that sits behind disease conditions that we have that are respiratory related. And stress. If you go into a stress environment, your immune system drops in effectiveness by 50% because your gut is in fight and flight mode. So we need to look at things that reduce stress. And then trauma emotions. I know you know a lot about trauma because trauma releases toxins. Maybe you want to add something to that on that side in terms of causes for respiratory
yeah, so we know that if we're running in that high stress mode and we in that hyper-aroused states, our body is dropping huge amounts of cortisol, the stress hormone, into the body. That hormone is running, and the body finds it really hard to break that down. And so that it really has an effect on that. But then also talking specifically about the respiratory system, there are various areas that will affect our breathing and also just affect how we function. So I'll run through those quickly, if you don't mind, Denise, because I'm sure you'll also have a few things to add to causes. So, for example, trauma triggers, like you mentioned, the body's fight or flight response, right? So, and that causes very rapid and shallow breathing, which is hyperventilation, right? And so this pattern of breathing actually disrupts the oxygen and the carbon dioxide in the bloodstream. And so this can lead to things like dizziness, tingling, and that feeling of breathlessness. Then we look at hyperarousal, which is really one of those trauma states. And the body is in that heightened state of alertness. That's also when it's dropping, those heavy doses of the stress hormone. And then this becomes a very overactive sympathetic nervous system, right? So that's really where, that's right side of the brain where we're just running. And when that sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive, we've got rapid and irregular breathing. And so over time, this chronic state of hyperarousal can actually contribute towards respiratory issues. Sometimes when you're in a panic or you start feeling anxiety, the first thing you feel is your breath runs out, and it's like you can't breathe. And then also, if we look at trauma that creates so much tension in our body, it also creates a lot of tension around our chest area. And so that chronic tension that's not relieved will also cause problems with our breathing, and obviously also discomfort or pain in that area. Then we look at breath holding. Sometimes we unconsciously hold our breath, especially when we go through trauma or we're facing circumstances. And so this creates tension in the respiratory muscles in the chest. And so that will then also impact our oxygen intake. And then we can also think about how all of this will affect our levels of energy, you know, and create fatigue.
Yeah.
Then we've also got the hypervigilance, you know, which is that very alertness, which we actually spoke about, sort of ties in with the hyperventilation, flashbacks and panic attacks. So when we've got flashbacks or panic attacks because of trauma triggers, right, it also will then change our breathing patterns. And so it then results again in that rapid and shallow breathing. And I've often found that when I do body work with people and I encourage them to start doing the breathing, we should be able to breathe deeply from our diaphragm. And I often see how they breathe and it gets stuck right here. There's no expansion because of all the tension that sits here in the chest. And so we're also looking at the vagus nerve, right, that runs from the top of our head to the top of our tummies, and that includes also the vagus system, which is the heart and the lungs and all of that actually needs to work together for us to have very good health, you know, with our breathing and the oxygen that's coming through the body. And then also respiratory disorders, that prolonged exposure to stress and trauma that just exacerbates those symptoms of asthma, you know, even chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, you know, and various other breathing regularities. And then also when we don't have very good emotional regulation, it's also going to affect our breath. And so when we can't regulate our emotions, we're not going to be able to regulate our breathing. And obviously that will then also lead to problems. So we really need to address all these issues. And seeing as we're looking at a holistic approach, you know, our bodies can actually repair and can actually deal with that. We just need to use the right solution. So anyway, I'll give back to you again.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And that's why looking after the respiratory system is an integrative approach that we need to follow. It's not just one thing or the other thing. If you look at essential oils, they are offered as a solution, and I love them. I absolutely love essential oils. But that's just one step that you can support your system. You can look at, say, for instance, you struggle with lungs or bronchitis. Then there's an essential oil that you can breathe in or use or diffuse or use nasal inhalation or steam bath. But you can also look at teas, because that's a different way of bringing plants into your system. It releases different properties into your body. So if you use, let me see, you make a tea with marshmallow root powder, licorice root, and slippery elm. That loosens up the phlegm and it's soothing and moistening to the lungs. And while you sip your tea, you can diffuse, for example, a Breathe Easy, which is a blend of 7 essential oils. You can release that into the air and have a steam bath, you know, facial steam bath later, or have those type of oils in your bath. And you just layer it together with proper breathing techniques. And that will help your respiratory system. It will bring your stress levels down. Even if you praying and meditating. When you meditate on the word, it reduces your stress levels. When you pray, it also calms you down. So it's a
worship as well.
And worship, it releases I'm going to say, a different frequency. So our life is not a silo. We don't live in silos, and it's all integrative, and that's kind of what we need to look at. And I look at vitamin C. That's my all-time favorite. I love vitamin C. My mom used to take vitamin C from day one. I remember those little tablets that she puts in the water. I can't remember the English name now. It's Brace tableta. She used to drink that, and and that's where I learned about vitamin C. So I'm an avid fan of that, and I've been studying Thomas Levy now for years and what he has to say about vitamin C. And I think the wrong word is vitamin, because it's an essential nutrient. Animals can make vitamin C, but we've kind of lost something in our bodies to be able to produce it. So it is essential. And there's 50 to 60,000 studies that they've done on vitamin C only. And everywhere I go, people have this thing in their head, oh, you drink it, but it ends up in the toilet. Maybe if it's just a full-on synthetic something, it ends up there. But vitamin C is the first thing that reaches inflammation. It's found mostly in your white blood cells. So there are the fighter cells that goes into an inflammation situation. So you have inflammation in a specific area because there are too many toxins there. And if those fighters cells get to the front line without vitamin C, you're going to struggle with inflammation. But if you start layering multiple types of vitamin C into your life, and you just use more when you don't feel well. And if I say more, people will ask, what's more? More is 3,000 to 30,000 milligrams, which means it's 3 to 30 grams for a 24-hour period. That is way more than we've ever been told that we can use. So I just absolutely love what it can do for your body. And So Natural is bringing launched Baobab fruit powder because it's a superfruit. It's a superfruit, a superfood, which you can add to smoothies, you can add it to your baked goods, you can add it to yogurt. I add it to my muesli in the mornings. And it's a natural way of getting a balanced vitamin C into your body because it has calcium, it has magnesium and potassium. It's all things that you need. It's not an isolated substance that sometimes the synthetic versions offer. And I have an anecdotal story. And unfortunately, the person that told me, I don't think, sometimes you don't think at that time, oh, maybe I need this documented because at some stage somebody wants to hear about it. She gave it to a friend of hers, the Baobab fruit powder. And he came back to her after a while and he said to her, there's something seriously wrong with this stuff because I'm coughing up slime balls. And she said, maybe you should go and see your doctor. And the doctor, he came back and she said, he told her that his doctor said it's the best thing that could ever happen to him because he was a smoker. And I think he stopped smoking. It's not relevant really. But what happens apparently is the tar or whatever, it forms a layer around your lungs. And the Baobab fruit powder did it is it loosened up that hard stuff. Wow. And it was these slime balls that was coming out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it just shows you what the natural stuff can do. Even with this pandemic, I was sick, and you think, what do I have in my house? And the Lord just pressed on my spirit, drink Baobab fruit powder, 1 heaped tablespoon, or one heaped spoon every hour. So I just fed myself that, but it's the same thing as increasing your vitamin C dose.
So it supports the immune system and just gives you a boost, hey?
Yeah, in amazing ways. I mean, you can take it in liposomal form, which goes straight into the cells. But then you want it around the cells, maybe with a Baobab fruit powder. Or for serious illnesses, people are brought back from the dead by, close to death, meaning not dead, by intravenous vitamin C interventions for anything from anything.
Yeah.
And it is an amazing product. So yes, having something like that into your protocol, I think is very important. We spoke about essential oils. So just to give people a background about the type of essential oils that Sozo and Fontis uses, because I think it's important to know the language. And I have a mini series on the Facebook page of Sozo Natural. Language is important because a lot of essential oils are made as fragrance oils. And we think just by breathing in the nice fragrance is going to do something for you. And it's not, because you need the therapeutic benefits. And even if something says it's organic, it doesn't mean it was properly distilled. It doesn't mean it was distilled at the right temperatures. It doesn't even mean that it's necessarily 100% natural. If you look at the essential oil industry, let me think of peppermint. Peppermint comes from India. And sometimes it's it's blended. When the farmers bring it to the to wherever they sell it, they mix corn mint with it. So corn mint and peppermint's not the same. So the moment those two are diffused together, you will lose the therapeutic benefits. And it's not that the farmers it's a poverty situation. It has to do with how much they can produce in a year on their fields. So they try to get more money to live off, and that's what they do. Sometimes people obviously they go out to defraud people, and sometimes it's a survival thing. So that's why it's important to know that your essential oils are 100% natural. They are 100% pure. They are not rectified or cut with something or denatured or mixed with other oils, because sometimes I'll add castor oil to a blend and you think that this will work well, and it just doesn't. So it's important to understand language and to know that your oils were, as I said, distilled properly. Usually for commercial use, say lavender, they will stop at, say, 15 minutes, because then linalool, which is the main component, appears, and then they'll stop it. And I think and I suspect that it's the reason why a lot of people, especially therapists that use oils to massage, their hands get red from using lavender. And I think it's because of not wholly distilled essential oils. There's hundreds, and sometimes, there's hundreds of chemicals in essential oils. You need the whole thing. Like a baobab fruit powder is a whole vitamin C with all the supportive elements in there. And you need that for essential oils as well. So just to give you that, people that listen, just an understanding of what I look at, because I want it to be therapeutic and medicinal. Otherwise, it's a nice fragrance. And it won't cost that much if it's a nice fragrance.
And does that not going through the whole process or the full process, so like the distilling process and all of that, because we know oils carry frequencies.
Yeah.
Does that impact the frequency of that oil?
I believe it would, because it's just a piece of the oil. It's the main component. So if you look at pharmaceuticals, they will look at what makes lavender good, and then they'll say, oh, it's linalool. And that is made into a synthetic product that, we know synthetic products, they just mimic that. And I think that's where our problems come in. We can't bake a chocolate cake without cocoa. Just because we take the cocoa doesn't mean it's a chocolate cake. You need the eggs, you need the flour, you need everything to make a chocolate cake. And it's the same with what nature gives. It's complex compounds. It's really very complex. And just taking out the thing that makes it work means it lose all the support. So I do really think it does affect the frequency in the end of the day, because if a fragrance is not therapeutic, it's not the same frequency.
So it's not going to have the same effect on the body. Well, I guess it's the same as us putting a whole lot of junk in our bodies and then wanting to eat an apple and now and again have a vitamin C and then ask, well, why am I not healthy? Because we have to look at it holistically, right? We have to do it the right way, clean out, because I know the receptor cells, they get blocked through all the toxins we put in our body, and the oils need to enter the receptor cells because that's the gate to the body. So it's really a holistic process to see what are we putting in our mouth, what do we use on our body, and all of that will affect us, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know you have some solutions on the emotional side that one can bring to the table, other than just essential oils or herbs or what I've discussed just now.
Yeah, well, for me, just from a practical side, dealing with the body and trying to bring body health back, especially to the respiratory system, it would be natural techniques like breathing, for example, like doing some deep breathing is what we would call grounding, so breathing in for 3 all the way, take that air into your lungs, try and get it from the diaphragm up, that you actually can, if you put your hand on your tummy and you breathe, you must actually feel the air coming from your tummy. And sort of
Yes.
breathe really deeply into your lungs and then release it for 6 and just blow all that air out, and do that a couple of times, you know, that until you start to feel that tension in the shoulders, in the chest, and that sort of thing come to an ease. Because I just our bodies are amazing, you know, doing really nice stretching exercises, stretching out all the muscles in the body, getting the oxygen flowing, even those early morning stretches. You know, have a simple stretching routine that also drops endorphins into the body, gives you a happy feeling. Already when you happy, oxygen flow is better through the body. So we need to look at those natural ways in which we can actually help our bodies recover. Because, you know, all those toxins, if our body had a voice, right, and we know our body has a voice, but people don't talk to their bodies, which I feel they should talk to their bodies more. And
I agree with you.
ask their bodies, you know, what's wrong? Are you angry? What do you need? And I can tell you now, most of the time when people do that process, like when I do this process with people, sometimes they're very surprised when their body has a voice and it actually says, I need rest, I need good nutrition, and they go, okay, where did that come from? It's like, because your body has a voice. So if our body talk about the toxins in our environment, the things that we put on our skin that are toxic, the food that we eat, you know, it would be really wonderful. I think we'd be in awesome health. But I know for me, I sometimes will sit with the Holy Spirit, and I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but I was having trouble sleeping and just feeling really sluggish. And I sat down with the Holy Spirit one day and I said, I said, I saw myself walking in the healing gardens in heaven, where they've just got all the plants and the herbs and the flowers. And because I believe there are places like that, because I mean, I see them in the spirit. And I was walking with the Lord and I said, what does my body need? What do I need? Where's the depletion in my body? And I specifically said melatonin, right, which is the sleep hormone that was depleted. And he said dandelion root. I was like, dandelion root. And so we know that dandelion root is very good for clearing out toxins in our body. And so I think if we can tap into our body, tap into our spirit, and bring in the Holy Spirit to that process, we can find out exactly what our bodies need for health. Just like the Lord spoke to you about that baobab powder. The Lord can tell us what we need for our bodies, and we need to practice that process, you know.
No, I agree with you, because the most that, you know, as women, I mean, we can be honest, but what we do is we look in the mirror and we say, oh, I hate you. That's what we say that over our bodies. That's our language. And then we are surprised that it looks the way it does. It just gives us back what we've been saying to it the whole time, instead of
responding to that.
stopping and saying, okay, you've got an ache. What is this ache about? What are you trying to tell me? But we're also trained in this one pill for every ill. You know, I don't want to listen to what my body says. I'll just drink something and then it goes away. It actually doesn't. It just suppresses it for a moment, and whatever it is becomes worse.
That's right.
So it's a complicated system to work with. But I think we need to start understanding how it works to our best abilities and bring back holistic, not just one silo solution, but quite a few things, and just rethink what we do in our lives. I mean, I have the same journey in my life towards wellness. And we were talking with breathing. That is one of the things that I bring into Fontes. I teach my clients, when they use their nectars, to put it on the palms of their hands and breathe in. That exact thing that you were saying, just to make people conscious of breathing and getting, breathing out through your stomach and, in, get it down there. That is why it is a wellness product. So it brings little things to the table that you can use every day to improve your overall wellness. It's not just for your skin.
And then there's also the different types of breathing that in, right? Where you can breathe it in like this, where it hits the brain area where you want it to hit. So you kind of isolate the breathing, and then you can breathe it in where it goes to the rest of the body. which I also found so fascinating. And so it's just so amazing, these properties that oils have got, and that they come from the Lord. Why? Because they come from the Lord, because he's given us these natural, the symphony that he's given us that we can use to bring healing to our bodies.
And his word says that healing is in the plants,
Yes,
or in the leaf. But it's, you know, he says that that's where the healing lies. Yeah.
and his name is his oil poured forth, right? So we partner with the name of Jesus in everything we do as well. I mean, it's like a recipe for success, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think we just got lazy.
Hmm.
And we got used to just microwave culture. Everything must happen immediately, and it doesn't work like that.
Even cleaning out the body, it doesn't come overnight. So I think if we can start, you know, at a place and just start to work on our bodies. And I think in that I want to bring in what so you know Arthur Burke, Denise, and Arthur Burke's done a lot of research in the area, especially of the spirit man, and how our spirit is really connected, and how our spirit can help our bodies heal, and specifically with the redemptive gifts. And we know there's the 7 redemptive gifts: the prophet, the servant, the teacher, the exhorter, the ruler, or the giver, the ruler, and mercy. And each of these and as we discuss the body parts or the systems, will bring these redemptive gifts in. But the prophet is linked to the respiratory system. And I did a sort of a ladies' meeting over a period of 12 weeks where we actually just unpacked the redemptive gifts. And what I found from just the feedback from the ladies on the group is that a lot of them that had a certain gift or redemptive gift, or we know our spirit carries all 7 gifts, but we have a soul gift. But a lot of them found that, so if they had a mercy gift or teacher, like for me, I've got a teacher giver gift, and I could see areas in my body that related to those gifts that were definitely not functioning properly. And so we all came to this conclusion that the enemy was actually attacking our gifts through our body. So we were experiencing those areas in our body. We were experiencing the dysfunction or the distress and the deficiency. So that would then hinder us from running effectively the way we're supposed to. So the prophet, that's now specifically linked to the respiratory system. So let's just look. So the prophetic gift, right, is associated with discernment, insight, the ability to perceive the spiritual realm. And they also have a very deep sense of justice, truth, and a strong desire to communicate the insights to others. And we know the prophet's principle is design. So it's not only a prophetic gift that I'm a prophet, but it's the design of that prophet, right? Is they there to bring about God's design in things. So God gives them a special insight and a wisdom and that sort of thing. So the connection between the prophet and the respiratory system comes from the fact that the respiratory system brings in the breath of life, which is oxygen, and expels waste, which is the carbon dioxide. And prophets have the unique ability to bring spiritual insights and revelation, and then to be able to communicate this to others, which is like oxygen, right? So they provide the breath, and then they bring these profound truths, right? And so then they breathe out messages that inspire and challenge and guide. But also receiving the insight from the prophet can also sort through the waste that we can move out of our body. So it's actually incredible. So even with healing the respiratory system, so Arthur Burke's theory, and it's not only just the theory, he's putting lots of scientific research with people and the brain and that sort of thing, is to call forward your prophet portion and instruct the prophet in what it needs to do in the body. So prophets need to help. And I know the prophets also linked to sympathetic nervous system, which kicks us into fight or flight because the prophet's always running.
Yes.
And so we need to tell prophet, hey, slow down a bit. Out of our spirit, and you need to cha-cha. Let the giver come in. The giver is the parasympathetic nervous system to give back to the body. But we can instruct the prophet in what needs to happen with regards to the respiratory system. That God's design for the respiratory system needs to come through for the prophet. And obviously, you know, as we look at the gifts in conjunction with the body, we need to realize that if there's any misalignment or there's anything out of order, we need to work on that, not only for our spirit health, our soul health, but for our body health, even in terms of our giftings.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. No, I actually agree with it. And it's so nice how you bring it together, or Arthur brings it together with this whole respiratory thing. Because as you just said, God breathed his breath into into Adam's nostrils. It's his breath. So it's amazing how it just fits into the whole
ruach breath. Hey, it's like we were speaking earlier, because that ruach breath of God brings life. And so it breathes life into our bodies. It breathes life into circumstances. And there are many scriptures on breath. Maybe I'll share some if you want me to, because I thought, I'm going to look at just some scriptures that talk about breath. So we look at Genesis 2 verse 7, and the Lord formed man in the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. And we know that living being is nefesh, which means a soul. And the Spirit of God, Job 33 verse 4, the Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord, right? Thus says God, this is Isaiah 42 verse 5, who created the heavens and earth and stretched them out to spread forth the earth, and that which comes from it, who gives breath to the people on it and spirit to those who walk on it. It's just, it's incredible, you know. So God gives breath to everything. You know, even plants have breath. They need oxygen to survive. So it's like his breath is just, it's there. And maybe we can also consider, you know, if we look at the ruach breath of God, which is in creation, it brings empowerment for our tasks. There's renewal in his breath, you know, new heart, new spirit, as we see in Ezekiel, right? Jesus' ministry was actually the Holy Spirit came, and he's that breath now, right? That breath within us that brings the life. And it really represents God's presence and transformation in our lives. But maybe we can consider, you know, also, if we can't breathe or we're not getting enough oxygen into our lungs, is there an area of our life where we haven't allowed God's breath?
I was thinking the same thing. Yes. Do we need more of God's breath in our lives? Do we have a shortage somewhere if we struggle to breathe?
So again, it's the holistic, it's the spirit, the soul, and the body. And if there's a bit of breath or life missing in areas of our life, let's ask God to sort of breathe new life into those areas so we can breathe again, you know, because sometimes we know that even like anger, if we're carrying anger all the time in our bodies, we're going to present with heart disease, we're going to have headaches, we're going to have all sorts of things going on in our body because of that. So if there are areas in our life where we're partnering with death, where there isn't breath, like the dead bones in Ezekiel 37, that God had to breathe life into, let's ask him to breathe life into those dead areas, you know?
That makes sense to me. Absolutely. And just to bring it back to the plants, you were saying about the plants needing oxygen, but what's amazing about plants as well is it takes the carbon dioxide in the air and it makes oxygen for us.
That's right, it does. So what plants are good for that? So what should we have in our gardens, or or in our homes that's good for that sort of thing? Are there specific plants that do that, or is it plants in general?
All trees do that. That's their job. All of them do that. Some and now you're asking me the specific plant that I know that creates a lot of oxygen compared to its size, grows in my garden. I love it. But now, can I remember the name? No, I can't. Maybe we'll put it in the group. I plant it everywhere. It's yeah, I can't
when you
remember,
remember, put it on the group where we post this.
Yeah. It just produces way more for the size. So plants we need plants because they bring oxygen, and that's what we need to live. They purify air. They take the carbon dioxide and they purify it, and we get cleaner oxygen. So I live in an area now that my garden is full of plants, many trees. I love it. I'm in heaven.
Yeah, I have a lot of plants in my house, like this one behind me, which they call a money plant, okay, for whatever reason. But they all over my house, and they grow fantastically. It's the only plant that really grows in my house. So I'm hoping that's a good sign, because there are some others that just don't make it here because of the climate. And because we've got air conditioners running 24/7 here because of the heat. And I go outside in the summer and I immediately feel like I'm suffocating. And I look at the plants outside and it breaks my heart, because you can't give them enough water, because the soil dries almost instantly. And so there are some that really kind of drag through until the winter comes, but most winters come and I've got to replant and I've got to buy new plants because they don't make it, and that's really sad, as well. And so I'm also thinking of climate and the type of ground and how the land that you're in also will affect your plants, right? So I'm also thinking then how the land we are in also affects us, our environment, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Just to talk about like the desert environment that you're in. An interesting conversation I had with a group of people the other day. It had to do with honor. Lord just woke me up and I had to talk to them about honor. And he took me back to this word where it said, dishonor brings barrenness. And sometimes isn't that what a desert is? If nothing wants to grow, isn't that dishonor? Isn't that the barrenness? So,
and I also listened to Timothy Benz, right?
Where I think it's Timothy that brought it to my attention. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. I got that when you sent that teaching to me, and what really had a huge impact on me was just covenant. I don't know, we've gone from respiratory to covenant, but we're talking about life.
I don't know either.
But how if we're out of covenant with God, there's barrenness. So I guess it comes back to the breath, right? If there's barrenness in our life, are there areas, and after listening to that, it had quite a profound effect on me, and I actually went and made a specific bit of a study and asked God, where am I out of alignment with your covenant? Show me some of the areas in my life that are not aligning with what it's supposed to look like. And I was quite surprised to get a list like this. This area, and it's small areas that we don't realize, that we're out of covenant with him. And it's those areas that sometimes rob our breath and steal our life from us, because maybe we're exhausted, we're fatigued, we're running on empty, and we got to go, okay, where have I been running in my breath versus the breath of God, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay, Denise, is there anything else you want to say about the respiratory system?
Yes, I want to just talk about Sozo Naturals Breathe Easy.
Yes.
It was very interesting how that came about. It was either 2020, 2021, June. It's around there, May, June. Where the Lord just started to press it upon my spirit. Develop a product. People are stressed out. because they are struggling to breathe.
Mm.
So that's how this oil blend came about. And I've had anecdotal evidence as well where people would diffuse it and they would be on something that measures their oxygen levels. And then their oxygen levels would increase by 4%, which was, it's informal at somebody's home. It's not a test, but they noted it and they thought it was important enough to share it with me. So I find it very interesting that they do that. And I just want to share some of the chemical compounds that is in the blend. And it is something that I diffuse every now and again. And, you know, my spirit will tell me, or my body would say, I want that. It's very nice. And then I just diffuse it and happiness. But it's available in a few products, the blend in various formats, but it contains things like thymol and carvacol, which helps to stop spasmodic, I don't think I pronounce it right, coughing. It relaxes the airways and phlegms. It helps to get mucus moving. It has alpha and beta pinene in it, which supports lungs and sinuses. It helps with a healthy stress response. So it brings in that whole emotional thing as well, because of the stress we have when we feel we can't breathe properly. It supports energy levels, which is important again, because it means it raises the frequency. It brings the eucalyptus has compounds that cools, brings cooling vapors to help to expand the lungs. It supports the immune system. It stimulates mental clarity. So there it comes in again, where the emotion, it's holistic. It brings,
it all works together, interconnected.
It all works, yes. And the limonene and the camphor and the 1.8 cineol that comes from eucalyptus as a minty aroma to it, which also supports the lungs. So it's a complex blend, because you can use one oil, but if you make a blend and you know how to put them together, they are stronger. The end result is a stronger result, a better result, and they just bring these various things to the party. And it's a complex product that doesn't do something just for the physical, but for the emotional as well. And
so it works on the brain as well, the brain processes.
Yes, it works on the brain processes too. So Sozo has a few solutions for people that want to go the natural route. Baobab fruit powder, good for the respiratory system, good for the overall body. And the Breathe Easy range in various formats that you can either inhale directly, diffuse, chest and throat rub, a nasal spray even, because nasal sprays cleanses. It just cleanses your system. It opens up, but it cleanses as well. And it's something to use every day. If you like eucalyptus running down your throat, it's, you know, it's still good to use, because it just opens up, and it opens up emotions as well, because it goes into, you know, into the brain.
No, and it also goes directly into the cells, right? Does it break through the blood-brain barrier, or?
Yeah, because it's you spray it into it's an oil blend that you spray into your nose, so it's moistening to the nasal cavities as well. But those vapors go into the brain area, and it affects the emotional center as well. Nice. And nasal cleansing is popular because it also helps to clean the lymphatic system in a way. Not a total cleansing, but it does help that. And that's the system that runs through, And if you bring release there, it also brings clearer thinking, more clarity of thinking, more better emotional well-being.
If you clogged up here, you automatically feel that fuzzy feeling in your brain, like it's like fog, right? That brain fog that you feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, so it's great because it's a family product. You can use it from 3 years up. So that's, you know, it's something the whole family can use.
That's awesome. So is there anything else you want to add to that before I ask you where can they go and get these fabulous products of yours?
No, I think that's it. Unless there's something else you think I need to add, but I think we've basically covered everything and more that we
Yes,
wanted to talk about. Yeah.
So well, that's what happens when the Holy Spirit guides the discussion. Hey, we go where he wants to go, and he brings in what he wants to. And yeah, he's our creator, the Lord's our creator, and so he knows what we need in those various areas. So I look forward to seeing where the Holy Spirit's going to take us in the next ones. You know, we kind of went from Cape to Cairo today, but it was amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we had a sort of a basic plan, and he just came in and just moved it in various directions. It makes it fun.
So, Denise, if people want to get your products, can you just tell us again? So, and also, Denise has got a testimony on my YouTube page on the Women of Inspiration platform as well, but you'll find it on the YouTube page where she shares her testimony around the oils and what she does, the products. So just having said that, Denise, where can they go to get your products? I will leave a slide at the end with your details on, but maybe you can just tell them what they can get and where they can get it, where they can find you on social media and that sort of thing.
Okay. So on social media, they can find me at Sozo Naturally, and Fontes at Fontes Skin Food. Then there's a website. It's all the W's, fontesskin.co.za. We are in the middle of revamping it. So the name will change to Fontes Wellness, but you will still find it under fontesskin.co.za. And there you will find Fontes Organic Skin Food and Sozo Natural on the same site, which just makes it easier if somebody wants to buy both. Then it, just
all in one place.
Effort. Yes. And I will give you a discount code for everybody that wants to purchase. Inspire 10 will be for Sozo product, Sozo Natural product, and Inspire 15 for a Fontes product. So if they use those coupon codes, they will get those discounts.
Okay, so Inspire 10 is for
Sozo Natural,
okay,
and Inspire 15 is for Fontes Organic Skin.
We will also pop that in the chat where we release it, but also in the video comment box, as well as I think I'll put it at the end so that they've got that to go and get those products. Okay, well, thanks Denise for this. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to our next one.
Yes, so do I. And thank you, Tammy, for the opportunity. It was actually a good fun. I always enjoy our talks.
Yeah, and so thank you everybody that tuned in, and stay tuned to watch this space for our next talk.